We are looking at CSS interview questions and answers. This stands for Cascading Style Sheet. This is like a makeup for your HTML pages. This is just an example of how your CSS is going to look. And we are specifically talking about CSS, and we'll be seeing few more questions on CSS3, that is Cascading Style Sheet 3. This is the new version along with HTML5. The website development has entirely changed. So this cascading style sheet is a style sheet language. So this language, as you see here, is a style sheet language, and this is specifically for formatting of your HTML pages and in your website. And what happens most often, this is used to style web pages and user interfaces which are written in HTML and XHTML. This language can also be applied to any kind of XML document, including your plain XML, SVG, XUL. Though XML document has its own styling, background files. So CSS is now a cornerstone specification, specifically this CSS3. In almost all web pages, they use CSS style sheets to describe their presentation. So in all the website, you're going to find this CSS, and it's quite easy to write and to understand because you just need a text browser and or text editor and a browser so that you can run. So what are cascading style sheet? Because this is the basic, so I have not kept in question series. What are cascading style sheets? We'll talk about cascading, we'll talk about various stuff, but the CSS or cascading style sheet, they are rules, they are statements that can assign various properties, rendering properties to your HTML element. Your HTML element or your text, say text, is by default black. Now you want to make it red. You want to increase the size of the text. You want to give certain more properties to your text or any HTML element. Then you would require cascading style sheet. Style rules can be specified, say for a single occurrence or say a multiple occurrence to the entire document, to the entire website, that is multiple document at once. So let us go ahead with the questions. What is class in CSS and why we use class? See, in your school or in colleges, there is a class. So this is a class of computer science engineers. All those who are to be taught the computer science subjects are to be placed in this class. Exactly, CSS also does that. So class is basically used for grouping the attributes for applying same CSS. So you group and then you apply CSS that will be applied on all the elements which are in this class. And to apply the same type of styles on a multiple tags, we add the class on the tags. And then we add the styles on same class in CSS file. In short, a group of instances of the same element to which a unique style can be attached is what we know as a class in your CSS. What is grouping? What do we mean by grouping? As I suggested, it is comma separated list. Grouping, you gather comma separated list and then you have two or more selectors that share the same style. Like this. I'll just give an example because this example is also coming. So gathering into a comma separated list two or more selectors that share the same style, or into a column separated, semicolon separated list two or more declarations that are attached to the same selector. I'll give an example. That I have a heading, I have a paragraph, and say I have a more heading. I want to give same property to H1, P and H3, heading 1, paragraph and H3. So I'm going to group it. How I'm going to group it? Because I have say some font size, I say background, say colon and say red, semicolon, and then again some property with some attribute, property with attribute. This is your grouping or gathering into comma separated list to a more selectors that share the same style. Is CSS case sensitive? No, it is not. Cascading style sheet is not case sensitive. What is a class selector? As we have just seen, class selector, we'll know more about this. Class selector is a standalone class to which a specific style is declared. It is a standalone class wherein we have applied or declared a specific style. So using this class attribute, the declared style can then be associated with any of the HTML elements. So the class selector are created by a period followed. B means a dot followed by class name. So you have a class name here. And the naming scheme is also important. The name can contain characters, A to Z, A to capital Z, capital A to capital Z, then digits, period, hyphen, and escape characters, Unicode characters 161 to 255, as well as any Unicode character as a numeric code. But there is a catch. They cannot start with a dash or by a digit. No, it is not allowed. What is cascade? What is cascade? It is a method of defining the weight or the importance of individual style elements, thus allowing conflict rules to be sorted out. That means what should or which should be applied first or to same selector, like this. When you apply the same thing to the same selector, cascading means, say you have a paragraph. Now you have, say, give padding, and you say 10 px, and then you say background, you say yellow. So what you have done, this is the first one, this is the second one, so they are cascaded. Cascaded means first this will be applied, then this will be applied, and likewise. So what is happening? This is a method of defining the weight or the importance of individual styling. So there will be no conflict. What are different ways to integrate a CSS into a website? We'll be talking about this a lot because then twice or thrice we'll be talking about this. But basically there are three ways. You can use a style attribute in the tags by placing the code in a style element within the head element, or you can also have an external file. You can have an external file and you can link it via a link element. We'll talk about this. Don't worry if you don't understand. Explain external style sheet. How would you link it to the web page? Now you have a web page. You create a CSS as external file and then you link it. So how you're going to link it? So you can create a CSS file. Maybe you can use your text edit, or you can use your Notepad++ or even Notepad, and place all the CSS in that file and include the same file in one or more web pages called as external style sheet. This is the way, or this is the you can say syntax to do that. You have a link, rel means relation as a style sheet, and you give a reference, and this is the path, and ultimately your file must be named, say, mystyle.css, like this. What are the advantages and disadvantages of external style sheet? We'll be talking about this, but for now, using them means external style sheet, you can the styles of multiple pages, multiple documents can be controlled by just one file, which is external to this. Classes can be created for use on multiple HTML element types, and in certain complex situation, the selector and grouping methods can be used to apply styles. And if you need to update the CSS file in a live site, then you don't need to upload all the files. You just have to upload the CSS file, and it is quite easy to manage these files. But the disadvantage, which will never means overpower the advantages. So let us see. In order to import style information for each document, an extra download is needed. An extra download. Until the external site sheet is loaded, the document will not run, means the rendering of document will not start. And for small number of style definition, it is not viable. Why you are waiving a style sheet just for one styling or one tag? But the recommendation always is use an external style sheet. Next is what are the advantages and disadvantages of inline style sheets? See, advantages are, it is especially useful if you have small number of style definition. So it has the ability to override other style specification like the embedded one, like the external style sheet. So it has the ability or to override the style specification method at the local level, that is in one place. But there are disadvantages of also. It does not separate out style information from content. You need to have a separate style information and the content. And the style for many document cannot be controlled from one source. For that, you would require the external style sheets. The selector grouping method cannot be used to handle complex situations, and control classes cannot be created to control multiple element types within the document. And good companies never allow to use inline CSS in website. So the recommendation would be never use inline style sheet. And or you can say that embedded style sheet. There is one more we'll be talking about. That will be coming shortly. What is the CSS selector? A CSS selector is a part of CSS rule, which rule set that actually selects the content for you that you want to style. Let us have a look at all different kinds of selectors which are available. You have a universal selector. This applies CSS to all documents. This star suggests that it is a universal selector. All will be having color red. Element type selector. This applies CSS to a particular attribute. Like this is unordered list. All the unordered list will be colored red. Then ID selector. This applies CSS which are having same ID. For example, you take hash and the ID name. Then the class selector, for that you use this box. Say box is your class, and you can just select the class and you can give the styling. Then descendant combinator. What is this? Descendant combinator. This applies CSS when we have combined two or more selectors, so you can be more specific in your selection method like this. We have a container. This is the ID, and then dot box. This is the class. Then child combinator, you apply CSS to the child. That means container. This is you are applying it to the child. Dot box. General sibling combinator. This apply CSS based on siblings. All the siblings. And then adjacent sibling combinator, like this. Siblings are actually the children of the same parent. So it can be P, it can be others also say H1, others also. That is why the combinations are different. Then attribute selector, you can apply CSS on a particular tag which is having same attribute. So all these having input as text will be colored red. Pseudo class, you apply CSS on the class which does not exist in real, like hovering. If it hovers, then you color red, otherwise not. The next question is, what is tweening? What do we mean when we say tweening? So tweening is used in animations. It is the process of generating intermediate frames between two images. So it gives the impression that the first image has smoothly evolved into the second one. And you see in CSS3, there is a very good feature called as gradient, where you see the gradient changing. Means you can feel the opacity, the transparency changing. Explain RWD. RWD is a buzzword now. Everyone is talking about this. This is for responsive web design. Why? Because this is the technique. The design page is perfectly displayed on every screen size and device, be it be desktop, mobile, laptop, or any other device. So you don't need to create a different page for each device. What is the use of CSS sprites? CSS sprites. See, a web page with a large number of images would take longer time to load in the website, because images or image separately send out the HTTP request. You see the tag is like this. So you give a source like this, a link. So the concept of CSS sprites, it helps in reducing this loading time for a web page by combining very small images into one image, and this reduces the number of HTTP requests. How to import CSS? This is how you import CSS. Import, then you give the URL like this. Okay, this can be any name of your type, and this is the path. So these are a few questions on CSS. We'll be taking more of these. There are around 30 questions. So thank you so much. Take care of yourself.